Are we waiting on anyone else, Mr. McLary?
No, we're all ready to go, Chief.
Right, then we will go ahead and begin. I want to thank everyone for coming this evening. This is going to be the sentencing hearing for the State of San Andreas versus Bob Saquaro. This is docket case number 3-73307. Charges are as followed. We have terrorism, evading arrest, attempted murder of a government official. Why is Mr. Saquaro not in the courtroom yet? Thank you.
Damn, late to his own sentencing.
Mr. Saquaro, you can have a seat at the desk opposite of Mr. McLary.
Your Honor.
Are you able to sit in cuffs?
Nope.
Can he be uncuffed for the duration of this court session, please?
You two sit down.
You knocked me, man.
Sit down or leave, your call.
Alright, let's select these off. There you go. Blood returns to your hand.
And you.
Representing the interest of the state this evening, have Mr. McLary. He's been working with his paralegal, Miss White,
Apologies,
on
I'm
this
just gonna shuffle
matter.
over here.
Representing his own interest, after waiving the right to his attorney, will be Mr.
Sit
Saquaro himself
down.
this evening. Now, I want to stress again the fact that this is just a sentencing hearing. Mr. Saquaro has already pled guilty to the charges as I read them. So we are not here to argue Mr. Saquaro's guilt. This is simply to determine the sentencing deemed most appropriate by this court. We will begin with opening arguments made by Mr. McLary. We will then open the floor to any impacted members of the public, including law enforcement troopers who wish to make any statements regarding the crimes and the influence these crimes have had in order to determine how this sentencing will go. Finally, we will hear from Mr. Saquaro himself. Afterwards, I will deliberate and we will issue the sentence. And with that being said, we will begin with your opening statements, Mr. McLary.
Use your eye.
Good afternoon, lads and lasses.
I know Brian been searched
A
if you want to
pleasure
search
having
her.
you here on this fine day of Los Santos.
Yeah.
My name is Owen McLary,
1 sec, I'll
lead
get him.
prosecutor
Yo,
for the
fuck.
State of San Andreas Department of Justice. We're all gathered
Stand
here
up
today
quick and follow
for
me
the
outside.
sentencing of one Bob Saquaro. This,
Fresh
folks,
G.
is a dangerous man who has given no thought to the value of any of your lives. The reason we are here in this fine courtroom today all started when Lieutenant Aaron Scott got a call for the robbery on the 24/7 on Clinton Avenue. Lieutenant Scott pulled up and saw a Nissan Skyline ER34 outside belonging to one Billy Speed.
Oh,
The
I'm
driver
so
in the
sorry.
driver's seat clearly visible. A vehicle
I didn't
taken
mean
by
to,
the
the
defendant
muscle spasm,
without permission, mind you. It didn't take long for that driver to take off from in front of the store and start driving recklessly away from the scene. Our fine officer called for backup and started pursuing the suspect. Unbeknownst to them, there were two improvised explosive devices in the suspect's vehicles, primed and ready to go off with the trigger set if he got too far away from him. Not too long after the pursuit started, Major Alex Vance joined Lieutenant Scott. They had been chasing him for almost 5 minutes when the suspect drove from Palomino Avenue onto the Porta Freeway. On the on-ramp, the suspect deliberately struck two driving school vehicles in an attempt to spin them out, hitting both of them. Mind you, he did this with the full knowledge that he had 2 unstable homemade explosive devices in the car, further endangering the lives of innocent civilians. After this decision by the suspect, the officers involved made the decision to attempt a precision immobilization technique maneuver, PIT for short, in order to safely incapacitate the suspect's vehicle once the area was safe to do so. And they were able to successfully make this maneuver and disable the vehicle as the engine of the car broke down and started to emit black smoke. Once the suspect was stopped, the officers raised their guns at the suspect, and after 3 attempts to get him to cooperate, the suspect pointed a gun at Lieutenant Vance and started shooting while still in his vehicle. Our brave officers took evasive action and fired back at him while he was disarmed, until he was disarmed and no longer a threat. I will remind the court once again that the officers unknowingly put their lives in danger by firing into a car with 2 improvised explosive devices. Each of these officers were a car length away from the suspect, putting them easily within the blast radius, along with the vehicles, which would have created a chain reaction of explosions. Had those gone off, they could have seriously injured or killed everyone involved and damaged the structural integrity of the overpass. Once they removed the still conscious body of the suspect out of the vehicle, they had called for emergency medical services and began searching the car, which they discovered the 2 explosive devices along with 103 joints of marijuana. After calling for further backup from Major Harrison Gonzalez, who arrived in an armored vehicle with heavy armor suit to protect himself. Unfortunately, the San Andreas Fire Department was unable to respond to the call at the time. So Lieutenant Scott and Major Vance started to transport the suspect to Pillbox Medical while Major Gonsalves worked on defusing the explosive devices. However, Lieutenant Scott and Major Vance hadn't gotten very far when the suspect stated, "I wouldn't go there, it may explode," in reference to devices in the car, indicating that they had a proximity detector built into them if he had gotten too far away. This forced the officers to return to the scene and begin on-site medical treatment in an attempt to stabilize him until the bombs could be defused. While this was happening, Major Gonsalves was able to disarm one of the explosive devices and moved it safely out of the blast radius. When Major Gonsalves returned to the second one, he attempted to disarm the device, but since it was in a much more difficult position and a more complex bomb, he was there putting his life on the line for all of your safeties when the phone attached to the bomb started to ring. They took off, running for safety. Though he did not make it, the device exploded, blowing up the Nissan Skyline and sending Major Gonsalves flying through the air to the ground. Thank the gods his equipment absorbed the blast, and he did not sustain any injuries. However, it could have been worse. The suspect was later identified as one Bob Saquaro, who sits here in this courtroom. That man right there. There sits a man whose reckless regard for human life has led him here. If it wasn't for the fine work of the San Andreas State Troopers and sheer dumb luck, more lives could have been lost. You may ask, why did Mr. Saquaro have these explosive devices in his vehicle? Well, folks, in an interview with police where he refused representation, he told his target was the National Security of Enforcement building for an apparent data heist for a group called False Flag. He was asked to pull data off a range of servers there, giving explicit details in which hard drives to destroy. Mr. Saquaro claimed that these devices were not intended to harm people or property. However, he contradicts himself with his actions and his words. He was intending on destroying government property, both using the bombs to gain access to the building and stealing and destroying Silverbank's classified information. Along with that, this man here, Mr. Bob Saquaro, decided on his own volition to go and rob a 24/7, enter into a reckless, dangerous pursuit with officers, even getting in a gunfight with them in a very small proximity to these explosive devices. His own family, the Vagos, have abandoned him, sickened by his actions, putting countless lives at risk as he recklessly fled through the city. Ramming poor students taking their driving test. Mr. Saquaro admitted to being a part of this organization, False Flag, who hired him to carry out this attack. He admitted himself that they had since disavowed him. He willingly was planning on carrying out this act of terrorism for this organization. This all leads us here today to this courtroom, because we're here because this man, Mr. Bob Saquaro, pled guilty to these crimes and honestly should have been charged with a lot more. Possession of a controlled substance with intent to sell, felony reckless driving, grand theft auto, attempted murder of 3 government officials, 2 counts of possession of legal contraband, evading, and 2 counts of reckless endangerment for plowing into 2 people taking their driving tests. This is what he could have been charged with. However, he pled guilty to terrorism, attempted murder of a government official, and evading. The officers failed due to the extreme nature of Mr. Saquaro's actions. Terrorism fit the bill. What he did on this day was an act of a terrorist. The federal crime of terrorism specifically mentioned the bombing of government facilities. He acted on his own free will to actively put civilian and enforcement lives in extreme danger. He planned to intentionally blow up government facility and destroy information. That is domestic terrorism, folks. Instead of blowing them up, though, he drove sensibly through the city, endangering the lives of everyone around him, and the state agrees. When you put all actions together as spoken about today, his reckless abandonment of human life, his carelessness, admitting to be under the influence of marijuana, this man, Bob Saquaro, is a danger to society, someone who should not be walking amongst us. This man stated that he was proud of what he had done. That was the statement that he had given, that he was proud. He has shown zero remorse for his actions. He has continued his tirade in jail, even as he built cell phones, made death threats to a government official. That government official being myself. You may ask, am I biased then? No, I don't think so. And neither does the Chief Justice. I am acting in the best interest of the state of San Andreas. In his time in prison, he has repeatedly broke rules by having contraband posted on social media, creating ads, and even was suspected to be involved in taking police officers hostage. He has not reformed or shown any remorse, not in the slightest. This man was proud of what he did, proud he endangered lives, proud that he almost killed 3 members of the San Andreas State Troopers. He was proud that he almost killed 2 people by taking their driver's tests, proud that he endangered our fair city. That's, folks, is what Bob Saquaro is, a proud terrorist. I'm a proud man too, though, Mr. Saquaro. Proud to stand up here and say in front of all these people that I do not fear you, and on behalf of the great state of San Andreas, we recommend that this man receive life in prison without the possibility of parole. The state further recommends that his fines should be increased to $30,000. I implore you, Chief Justice Fairbanks, to look at the mountain of evidence, his proud guilty plea, and deliver a sentence worthy of the charges. This man does not deserve to walk out of this courtroom today. Lock him up and throw away the key. This man is a danger to the state and would be a terrible miscarriage of justice to deliver a sentence anything less than life. The defense rests, or the prosecutor rests. Defense can go.
Thank you, Mr. McLeary. Mr. Saquaro, before your opportunity to address the court, we will first open the floor. I do believe we have 2 scheduled statements, and I would be inclined to hear if any additional civilians wanted to come forward. But let's first start with the first name I was given. Is there presently a Candy Kane in the courtroom today? Can I have
What
a
the
trooper
fuck?
unlock the doors there for Miss Kane so she can come forward and address the court?
What the fuck is this?
Did you know about this?
I didn't know about this. Did you?
Miss Kane, please make sure you are using your big girl voice for me, and you may address the court whenever you're prepared.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, I would like to speak in regards to Mr. Saquaro. I've heard everything that this fine attorney had to say, and it is true. Bob is a terrorist. Bob has committed heinous acts that he has himself owned up to. I personally know Bob. He took me in like a little sister. I had no family, I had no one, and Bob was there for me. He took me in along with the Vagos, and he really helped me in my darkest times. Is it true the things that he did were horrible? Sure, it's true. But the way I see it, it's no different than any of the crimes that we commit or other criminals on a daily basis. He just went a little above and beyond on this one particular day, and though I truly wish that he'd given himself a chance to be defended and get himself out of this mess that he's now in, it's like Bob, to be completely honest. He is an honest man, and he is truly a kind man, for he took me in when nobody else would. I wouldn't be standing here today if it were not for him. It saddens me that he's going to be. I'm sorry. It saddens me that he may be facing time in prison forever, where I would not be able to see him apart from through a glass window, if that's even allowed. And I implore the state to give this man a chance, to show him mercy. That yes, he may answer for his crimes, but please give him a chance to have parole, to get out, to be rehabilitated. He shows so much promise. I mean, listen to the things that this attorney has said that he's done. He's built phones in prison. I mean, the bombs themselves, obviously horrible, but just the intricacy of the devices, like there's a brain in there that is magnificent and can be used for good. These terroristic cells, they brainwash their people. And I truly believe that the good man that I know Bob is and has been to me is still in there and can be brought back to us once again. We should hold these terroristic cells responsible for what they do to good men like him. I'm gonna get too emotional up here. I just implore the courts to please show this man mercy, because there is good within him. There really is. Thank you.
Thank you for your statement. Next, we have a statement from Major Harrison. Now, he is present here today in the court. However,
What
since
the
he is
fuck was
overseeing the security of our court session today, he has asked that I read this statement for him. So I will proceed with that. Beginning that on the evening of October 28th, I received an urgent transmission from Major Vance stating that there was an active terrorist threat on the freeway. Upon arriving at the scene, I was informed that there were 2 IEDs armed in the glove box of a Nissan, which was reported stolen earlier that evening. I was assigned as incident commander once I arrived on scene. After inspection of the device, I found a phone attached to the main circuit board of both IEDs. After disarming the first, I placed this in a secure area for forensic recovery. The second device was more complex and in a difficult to reach position. I attempted to disarm the second device. However, the phone attached to the main circuit board began to ring, and within seconds, the device detonated. We believe the device was activated remotely with intent to cause harm to the individuals attempting to disarm the device. I myself was knocked to the ground by the blast, however, sustained minimal injuries due to the protective suit I was wearing to disarm the devices. Later that evening, Mr. Saquaro admitted to arming the devices and disclosed that he intended to cause harm to anyone that got in his way. That will end the statement from Major Harrison. Now, before Mr. Saguaro addresses the court, I do intend to open the floor to anyone else who wishes to speak, if there is. However, we are going to take just a quick 5-minute recess. Everyone, please get up, stretch your legs, get a snack. There are vending machines in the lobby. We will resume at 6:25. All right. Mr. Saquaro, if you'd like to stand and come to the podium and address the court, now is your time to shine, sir. Please make sure you're shouting, Mr. Saquaro.
Thank you, Your Honor, for this chance to address the fine citizens here. Everything that the DA said here, completely true. I had the bombs. I was intending to steal data from the FBI center, or whatever they call it. I was not intending to hurt people, though. And I deeply regret that these actions ended up hurting everyday people and officers in the line of duty. I was part of that false flag organization, but I've gone radio silent from them since the incident. Since being in prison the last several years waiting for the sentencing hearing, I have orchestrated a riot, but that was for food reform because the food they feed us there is horrible. All those officers taken in that riot were released safely, and I gave them medical care while they were hurt. Now, there's no excuse for that, but since that happened, the food has been a lot better for the inmates of Bolingbrook. People are no longer malnourished. As well, I have spent time running the inmate work program, helping them build trades, learn trades, mainly electrical work since that's what I'm good at. And several of them have been released on work release programs and now work for the electric company. I definitely do deserve to be behind bars, and I admit that everything I did was wrong. People I hurt, I do regret that. I wasn't of my right mind. I got way down the rabbit hole, I guess you could say. I'm asking the court today to take into account for the things I've done while in jail, trying to help people rehabilitate and hope for a chance of parole down the line, whether that be 30, 40, or 50 years from now. I hope the state can find some heart in their heart to help me out. That's it. That's all I got to say. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may sit back down. At this time, we will take one final recess for deliberation. This will last as long as I deem appropriate to make my final decision in regards to this sentencing. Once I have come to a conclusion, we will reconvene this court. I should take no longer than 15 minutes. And then from there, the sentence will be known. There's nothing further to do in this session other than await my decision. Thank you. Right. Are we prepared to hear the sentence? Mr. McClary?
Aye, the state is ready to hear. So.
Mr. Saquaro?
Send it.
I want to start by saying this. Passing a sentence is never an easy task, whether that be from a guilty plea or a guilty verdict. The obligation that the court faces in these scenarios is truly one of pure subjection. There is no evidence to tell me what to sentence somebody in these situations. When I listen to these statements, as passionate as they are, I essentially have to decide who I think is being most truthful. I have to decide if the severity of the crimes outweighs the opportunity for genuine reform. And that is not easy for any court. It really is just a chance if the court is willing to give one. I myself have always been a champion of reformation. But while I believe in second chances, I do not believe in thirds. So I'm going to say this, and I want you to truly understand, Mr. Saquaro, the gravity of what I'm about to say to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
This court will sentence you to 30 years, with time served for the 7 years you have already spent awaiting the sentencing. You will be eligible for parole after 10. You will go before a full parole board. And if your recommendations are anything less than absolutely stellar, I mean gold stars every day from here until then, you will be denied. If you squander this opportunity, if you disappoint me in the decision I have made today in this courtroom, I will not be generous again. Is that understood?
Clear and loud.
Then the decision is just that. 30 years, time served, parole board in 10. I will see you at your parole hearing, Mr. Saquaro. This court session is now adjourned.
See you on the streets.
I hope to see you reformed, Mr. Saquaro. We'll be watching you.
Alright,
With good faith, lad.
just gonna put cuffs on you just to be sure.
Step back from the gates, please, sir.
Alright, flow along with us.
Aye, of course.
Oh, there you go.
Just doing our gerbs. Aye, well, be safe up there. Be
Vance,
safe.
Yes.